It's the end of week 6 in our excavations here at Nimrud, and it's time for another installment of Whose Shrine Is It Anyway? With me, Dr. Brad Hafford, archaeologist at the University of Pennsylvania. As part of my Artifactually Speaking series, I often talk about our excavations themselves, the trenches and what we're finding and how we're finding them. And I've been talking about a particular shrine that we have been excavating this season. It's really amazing because it's untouched, at least since the Babylonians destroyed it around 612 BCE. Many of the things that we have seen here have already been at least partially explored by earlier archaeologists as early as the 1840s. But now we're finding little things that no one really knew about or didn't have a very clear idea of because maybe it was very briefly mentioned that there was an installment in the floor. And now we're getting them in where we can actually measure them and talk about them and try to think more in detail about what they mean, how they were used. We come in through this rabbited doorway, and I'm standing on an inscribed threshold block. This is talking about the king, so it has not told us about whose shrine this is. In an Assyrian temple, you would walk in, and we call it bent access. You have to turn in order to face the cult target. So that is here to the south. When we would turn there, we see this gigantic slab. And I talked about that a bit before. We still have not revealed the entire thing. It's that large. You can see that it extends nearly 3 meters across the front, and it is elevated above the floor. This would give the statue of the god a more imposing presence. And we don't know that it had to be a statue either. It might have just been the symbol of the god. We are finding, though, pieces like an eye inlay that indicate there was at least one statue here. Was it the cult statue? Was it representing the god? We don't really know. We imagine that there were. Some texts tell us that they had to dress and wash and feed the statue, so there should be one. But maybe it wasn't always here, because we do have a kind of hole in the slab, which may have been for a removable post that had the symbol or something like that. We know that gods were sometimes taken around the city, and maybe that was just the symbol, certain celebrations. They were also taken to other shrines to visit their relatives. All of the gods were related in some way. So, we're still trying to figure this out. We're also still trying to find the back wall. We're almost to the wall of the gate chamber. And that seemed surprising to us, but we think we have figured that out partially. So the wall comes in here, and it makes a big buttress on the side. So we've got this kind of angle before we hit the slab. Now that angle almost certainly supported an archway. What we had was a vault over this sacred space. Therefore, you didn't need a thick wall back there. It wasn't load-bearing. This was carrying all of the roof. We have other doors in this wall, we think. So this has been our biggest problem. We've got all the other walls except that south one. We've got north and the west wall pretty clearly. This one, though, we've been having to pull some of the bulk. We left dirt in front of it in order to protect that wall, and then we start to peel it away because you don't want to damage the wall, the plaster on it, etc. But it's been plastered so many times, the outer plaster, they're all burned. They start to flake away. So we do lose some. We can see some of the wall surface in here. It's the grayer, solid mud brick beneath that. Well, it looks like there may be a door in the wall. Well, where the ladder is, we've got one of the jambs, and then there's another jamb here, a lot of fill in there. That one, it doesn't make a lot of sense because we've looked from the other side. Originally, I thought this might be a second gate chamber, like the one we dug earlier. And therefore, there should be a gate into the courtyard of Ishtar. But when we started looking on the other side, we found a lot of brick. And if there is a door here, I think it was blocked. They intentionally put in a lot of bricks to just seal it off. It makes more sense that there should only be one entrance, one main entrance to this shrine. We do know there's another doorway, though, and we've now opened that. I'd shown it earlier. So we cleared out the soil from in here. This is well away from the cult target, and it goes to a small room that was almost certainly a storeroom. They would keep offerings to the god here, perhaps, or I'd like to think, since we found a lot of the fragments of the faience beard, that blue beard, we got lots of them, and some of them were from in here. So maybe they stored some of the accoutrement of the statue itself. And we've got so many beard fragments that I wonder if he had multiple beards. So, I don't know, you put, I've got my angry beard on today. I don't know, but maybe for certain festival celebrations they would change the look of the god. But I don't know, is that sacrilege in a way? Is there only one representation, or can this god change? I mean, their moods changed, certainly, so maybe they represented them differently. Well, this room is not overly exciting. It had already been partially explored by Mozakham Hussain in 2001, and it's fairly small. Not a lot in here, but that's, I think, because it was just a small storeroom. So when we come back, we've got our north wall and our wheelbarrow ramp still here because we have to have access to get the soil out. Taking it up in buckets is too time-consuming, so this will be one of the last things we remove. But we know that there's another shrine to the north, and I showed it last time, but we've now completed that shrine, so we will look at it. And it does have some details that reflect those details of the larger shrine. So this one is built on the same plan in general. We know now that there's a door in the west wall that goes to the Ninurta courtyard. So that's just the same as the bigger shrine back there. We're going to leave that door closed for now, but we can see that there is a door sill here. This is a limestone slab, almost certainly inscribed just like the one over there was. Well, we've got a brick paved surface here. It's a smaller shrine, but you would come in from the courtyard and then you would have to turn in order to get here to the cult statue, which would have been on a limestone slab, just like the larger shrine. This one, though, had been damaged. Someone broke it. It's pretty clear that it's intentional. And they broke it right along the socket. Now, I was saying that a symbol of a god or a statue of a god might have been placed in this receptacle. So really, this might have been a post that supported either a statue or a symbol. But it has a lid, and this lid was broken. You can see the little lip. That's part of that, the way that it fit into this lip. And there's a strike right here where Babylonians, I suppose, hit it and broke it up, maybe to find out what was in there if they thought it could have been holding a foundation deposit, some sort of treasure. But they then destroyed this entire portion, and those parts were found near the floor down here, and I pulled them up and sort of played puzzle with them, trying to move the pieces around and fit them back in. And some of them fit pretty well, but of course they're never perfect, and moving giant puzzle pieces around is rather tiring. So yesterday I did a lot of work. I've been doing a whole lot of wall work, defining walls, which can be difficult. A lot of the heavy work, of course, is done by our Iraqi team. They're really great. We hire a bunch of workers to help move the dirt and all of this stuff. It's the only way we can move enough to actually investigate such large rooms. And we also have Iraqi archaeologists who work with us. There's at least one from the State Board of Antiquities and Heritage in each of our excavation areas. And then there's 3 or 4 of us, really. We're a fairly small team from the West, and we're working closely with our Iraqi colleagues. Well, this slab is inscribed, but the cuneiform is very poor. It's been damaged, that's the reason. So far, nothing has told us the name of the god, and that's unfortunate, but we hope that a piece that we found a few days ago in the big shrine, it's a small vessel that has 2 openings right next to each other, like 2 cylinders. And we think it's a libation vessel, some sort of ritual, and it has a lot of writing along the side. And if anything's going to have the name of the god, it's that or the giant slab back in the other shrine. This one might have had it, but I don't think it's legible. Now, one other thing that I think is really interesting, and I mentioned earlier that there were features in the floor. Well, this is one of them. It's a circle. When we first came up on this, we thought it must hold a column in order to support the roof. But in fact, there's only one, and there are parallels in the literature. Some people have said, back in the 19th century, they called this a a receptacle for the blood sacrifice. So they thought you'd kill a sheep and you'd drain the blood and it would all be in here. And I don't know, the opinion of those early archaeologists of these sort of polytheistic societies was that they were rather barbaric, I suppose. There are texts that talk about sacrifice of animals. Usually it was for a feast, so the priests would eat the sheep. And maybe they would gather the blood. They certainly would examine the liver and the intestines to see if there are omens the gods are speaking through the entrails of an animal. So it is possible, but there's no real staining in this. There is a little bitumen at the bottom. It could have held water. It could have held a post that held another symbol. I don't know yet, but we've got to think much more carefully than just saying, well, they danced around and threw blood on the floor and into this vessel. I just don't know, and I don't want to jump to that conclusion. So it is interesting, and there's one in each of these. So like I say, this is kind of a reflection of the larger temple behind. It's always placed just to the left of the cult target as you're looking, and a little ways out. So in the other shrine, we did find that libation vessel, the offering vessel, quite near. It was in between this circular feature and the limestone slab. So as you can see, there is a lot of information that we are coming up with, but we are coming to the conclusion of this season. Maybe I'll be able to put an addendum on this just before we leave. It's the end of week 7, or close enough. We're about to leave, so I'm doing a very quick update. And the main development is that we have finally got the south wall, and you can see that there are engaged mud brick columns all along it. We've got this gigantic limestone slab that's covered in at least 120 lines of cuneiform. So it's not in great condition either, so I'm not sure how much we can read. And unfortunately, we still don't know whose shrine it is. We haven't found the name of the god anywhere. But that's part of what archaeology is all about. We keep trying to find things. We get as much information as we can. This slab is so big, it's more than 3 meters, so it's over 10 feet back that way. And it must have been placed in here first. So Astronospral says he built a big mud brick platform across the entire citadel, and he built things on top of it. They must have planned out all of these temples and put these gigantic slabs in, and then built the walls around them. So we still don't know, but we're going to work again next season. In here, we've got extra doors that we still need to open, and other shrines yet to find. So join me again next time on Artifactually Speaking.